What's this? Secret hideout to reboot Star Trek the original series? Well, there's quite the asterisk to it, but that's the story. It's a story, so I'm going to look at it. For you, the people. So here we are once again at Cosmic Book News, who's got the story all done up nicely. If the producers of Strange New Worlds get their way, Star Trek could boldly go where no fan wants it to. Rebooting and effectively replacing the original series. They can't. You just can't. I mean, you can do a Star Trek and call it Star Trek, and you can call your Captain Kirk, Kirk, but it isn't. Yeah. Anyway, Akiva Goldsman and Henry Alonzo Myers, already controversial figures in the Kurtzman-led Paramount era, are now teasing what sounds like a remake of Star Trek the original series, TOS. While rumors suggest a full reboot may happen once the Skydance merger goes through, Goldsman and Myers appear to be all in on a new take that could overwrite the iconic show created by Gene Roddenberry and starring William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. In a recent panel for the Strange New Worlds Season 3 premiere during the Tribeca Film Festival in New York, the producers addressed the announcement that the series will end with a shortened 6th-episode 5th season, conveniently lining up with the end of Kurtzman's contract and Skydance's expected takeover. Can you guess who these guys are? Well, he's got the ears and the hairdo, so you know that one's Spock. I never could explain the collars, but anyway. This is supposed to be Captain Kirk. Now, look, to be fair, if they were doing their own Star Trek, set in some other era, beyond the Next Generation era, which is what they should do, and they hired this guy to be their new captain. I don't know. I think he did like some CW vampire series or something like that. I didn't watch it, but, hell, even CW did better than Kurtzman's Star Trek shows, quality-wise. Not by much, but still. But nevertheless, he might have been all right. I don't mind him in the episodes he's been in, but he's just not Captain Kirk, So a new character, he might have had a shot. Don't really dislike the cast at all. But sadly, they're stuck in this ridiculous mockery of a once great franchise. And well, he's Dr. Mbinga, who was a brief character in the original series. But here they're suggesting he served under Pike. And they almost had a story where they could explain why he's not the chief medical officer by the time Kirk takes over, because he violated the rules in one of the episodes. I'm still, to do it to save his daughter. It was understandable, but he kept it a secret and all this type of stuff. And I thought, but they decided to just look the other way. And it put the ship at risk and everything, but... And he's like, that's a pretty serious mark on his record, so he doesn't become chief surgeon or chief medical officer, And then Bumps eventually joins the crew, Anyway, back to the story. Goldsman, who also worked on Discovery, Short Treks, Pooh, and Picard, explained how Strange New Worlds has been gradually leading into TOS. Yeah, it's obvious by watching the show. They introduce Kirk. Scotty's in it, And, of course, Spock, he's there. Uhura is already on the ship. That's another thing. He's like, Uhura and Scotty and Dr. Mbinga. They were all, and Christine Chapel. They were all on the ship. It's not how it, which is why. That's when I get to the ultimate point here. This is not a reboot of the original series. It's an alternate version of it. Now, a reboot would ostensibly mean you're forgetting what went on before. And this happens quite a bit with different shows, and most of them are reboots. And speaking of Kurtzman being involved with the Hawaii Five-0 series, has nothing to do with the original Hawaii Five-0 show. That's a reboot. So theoretically, yes. Does it retcon and replace the original? No, it does not. That's kind of the because initially when they introduced Discovery, they went with this wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This takes place 10 years before Kirk takes command of the Enterprise. And there's no way in hell that fits. They didn't make any effort to make it fit with that. And it doesn't even fit with Next Generation or any of that stuff. It's just no effort at all. They made this whole other, just in the aesthetics alone, just totally different, supposedly sci-fi show. And that's right off the bat. Then you get in to see what exactly they did with the stories and characters, and it's below CW standards. It was always crap. It was just stupid. Strange New Worlds is a few brain cells ahead of STD. Not by much. But anyway, the groundwork for leading into when Captain Pike leaves the Enterprise and Kirk takes over, yeah, they've been setting it up all along. It's just, do they have enough time left to start a new series of Star Trek that spins off, sort of, and the case may be, whatever, as when Pike leaves at the end of season 5. It doesn't look like it. But by the time Skydance takes over, is that the show they want? Is that what they'll push for? Yeah, I guess maybe. But I'm leaning more they're just going to rest it for a couple of years and then start over with something completely brand new, which is their best shot. Yeah. But anyway, Goldsman says, we made a promise to ourselves that we would arc the show into Star Trek, the original series. And so we sort of thought, well, 5-year mission. No, okay, can we do 5 years? And we are really doing almost 5. Well, 4 and a little more than half. Season 5 is set for 6 episodes instead of the usual 10 episodes. Remember when they were almost 30 episodes? But, current times and everything. And we needed to be able to tell that story. Those are questions we knew we needed to answer and promised to answer. So that's our 5-year plan. And they just made up a bunch of crap. There's no evidence whatsoever in the original show that this is how things unfolded. The only thing they got right was Spock was on the ship with Captain Pike and number 1. That's it. Everything else, wrong. Unless it's alternate universe, which they've already established. It wasn't just the Lower Decks cartoon with the Klingons and all that. This series, Strange New Worlds, did an episode of time travel and alternate timelines, which gives you more than enough there to explain that multiple alternate timelines have resulted from the temporal Cold War, which was revealed in the Enterprise series, the last actual real in-canon Star Trek show that got canceled. And that was an overarching arc going on about these people from the future and all that. And that there was their time war that was going on. And things had changed. They were already changing things. The Xindi War was something that hadn't happened in the original canon. So already you're off to an alternate timeline and stuff like that. And they could have made a lot more use of that if they were smart. They didn't. It's just they don't know anything about Trek at all. Did very little research, and just took off and stole from all kinds of other sci-fi franchises. And you needed to steal from Star Trek because you're supposed to be a Star Trek show. But of course, even when they did that, it was bad. So yeah, they were doomed from the start. But that's the only way you get there. It's like, well, things look different and the situations are different because this is an alternate timeline, just like the J.J. Abrams movie, and you're kind of have no limits as to what stories you can tell. Problem with them is they don't have any stories to tell. That's a big problem beyond all this stuff. With Strange New Worlds already featuring younger versions of TOS characters like Kirk, Spock, Uhura, Scotty, Chapel, and M'Benga, Goldsman hinted they might go even further. You mean Bones? That's about it, huh? Oh, Sulu, Chekhov, even that. They'll probably put Chekhov in there. He didn't join until much later. You know? They established that in there. But again, alternate timeline, so what the hell? Just like in the movies, he could already be on board. And then we run into TOS, switching to conspiratorial tone, but they're not dying, and we have those sets. That's another thing. See, cost effectiveness, so they get into this. That line, we have those sets. All but spells it out. Goldsman, well, he spells it out. He's telling you right there, yes. You know, they were going to continue on with the original, their iterations of the original characters from the original show and all of that. If they couldn't get there, it will certainly end on that note. But nevertheless, yeah, it's already in motion within the Strange New Worlds narrative. So, but yes, it's important that they say we have all those sets. Goldsman is clearly implying that a continuation or reboot of the original Star Trek is on the table. Likely a cost-saving move. If they don't have to build new sets, they can churn out a reimagined TOS at a fraction of the cost. That's right. You have that, and it's a really good set. It's not accurate, but for an alternate timeline, it is. So they have a fairly good set. They've got, you know, the bridge, sick bay, all that stuff to do your Star Trek shows just on that. The rest, I don't know, you could do it in someone's backyard and say it's an alien world. You know, stuff like that, just like the show used to. And they're good. So that's something they're going to toss at Skydance and say, look, we already got this set. You know? Yeah, because if you cancel it, you cancel the contract and you're scrapping the whole thing, then all that goes away. So... well, naturally, fan reaction hasn't been kind, as is with much of Kurtzman era Trek. Longtime viewers aren't interested in seeing their favorite characters and stories rewritten or further butchered. The good news, with Skydance taking over, there's hope for a more faithful, respectful take on Star Trek. Something closer to what fans actually want. With Transformers already on pause following its failures, Star Trek may follow suit. Well, yes. Strange New Worlds will get to wrap up, and Starfleet Academy, oh God, still has 2 seasons in the pipeline. But after that, it's looking more and more likely that Kurtzman crew will be out. Sad it's probably too late, but Starfleet Academy, yeah, do they have to do 5 seasons for that one too? So maybe they'll cut it down to 2 episodes per season. So... they already got 2 underway. They're doing back-to-back, so, you know, 5 more episodes and you're done. I don't know. But anyway, maybe they could finally get something post-Picard instead of yet another remake. Exactly. That's what you do. No more prequels. None of that. Yes, there was material. You could have done something cool in a prequel era, the Romulan War, stuff like that. No, you've really stained that concept so badly that you need to move forward, and you just got to take the gamble. And you need to look for talent that understands sci-fi concept and that are solid writers. I don't care what their skin color is. I don't care what their gender is. I don't care who they sleep with. I just care that they have the chops to write and can do television, or, well, streaming in this case. And that's all you need. You might have a chance. Star Trek is the one that you do something like that. You don't even have to address all this crap. We figured it out. It was alternate timelines. And you just take off with your brand new ship, your brand new crew, and they're exploring outer space, and they encounter all kind of, you know, fascinating things out there. That's all you got to do. Once in a while, you make mention of the Kirk Academy for, you know, captains, whatever, that kind of thing. But that's it. That's all you do. Sure, again, once in a while, you run into something that previous Picard or Kirk, whatever, or both encountered in their time. Sure, fine. But that's all you do. The rest of it, it's on its own. Sometimes you got to take those training wheels off. Yeah, you do.